You are the soul that has existed for a long, 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 long time, that is in this flesh suit, this body, having a human experience. And the mind just so happens to be a part of what tethers you to this reality, to this life, to this body, to this mind. Like that's what's tethering you. So you have to know when to untether from the mind. Hello, hello. This is Ebony from Embodied Playgirl, and today we're going to talk about someone wants to make you feel less than. I recently received this message, and I think like a walking meditation that the problem with a lot of the things that I'm trying to do in growth in business, in growth in myself, and growth in other things is because of the information that I'm sharing with people close to me. I immediately thought that it was talking about my friends because a lot of times I noticed that I'm sharing a lot of good gems with these friends. And then when I get on camera for like TikTok or wherever I am or YouTube or whatever, I notice that I don't feel like I have anything left to give because I've given it all to the people around me. And sometimes the people around me may not even appreciate it in the way that it's going to compound on interest if I was actually able to make content on it. Matter of fact, if I was able to make content on it, I could just send the video to my friend and it's actually shared. It's again, the interest is compounded. I'm able to, touch more if I just simply do that. Anyways, I immediately assumed it was because of that. And I meditated on that and I kind of just sat with it and just let it sit in me without trying to figure it out too much, which is something new for me. I'm so used to receiving a message. Like when I say a message, I mean like a discernment channel, something that God kind of just drops in your head or drops in your body or drops in your heart. And I'm so used to like trying to figure it out immediately that sometimes I don't let life just unfold to show me exactly what it is I need to see. So this time I decided to let things unfold and just show me what I needed to see. I went to a kickback or like a party a little bit later, and I noticed that there was a woman there who someone told me that I would get along with very well. So I began to speak to her, and we really, hit it off for the most part. She and I were outside talking about, like just big shifts and big moves that we've made in life and what was our, I've had enough moment. And whenever she shared hers with me, I told her that was just phenomenal because I really enjoy people's moment where they truly just locked in and decided. I love hearing stories about that. I love hearing stories like I've always done things this way, but there was just this one thing that just made everything shift. Everything changed from that moment. I love those stories. So she asked me what was mine, and really the topic was us making a decision to move abroad because we were both abroad while having this conversation. And I told her that it was never really a shift moment. It was something that I was born with. I knew that I was always supposed to live abroad. I knew these things about I knew I was supposed to travel. I used to dream about travel. I used to dream about places I'd never been. So really it was just a moment of when will I have the funds and when will I know what to do to be able to actually do the thing. And once I was able to touch on the funds, it gave me the will to actually go learn what I needed to do. And then I made the shift. But this was something that was 30 years coming, something I've been dreaming of my whole life, you know? And so when I said that to her, something in her sparked and she wanted to share more. But another person joined the conversation. And this other person that joined the conversation, I met her months back, but I never wanted to reach out again because of the way that the conversation made me feel. I walked away from that conversation feeling like someone was like kind of trying to pick at me in a sense. And it was weird because I know that sometimes certain people's energy is a certain way. She was, from up north, but I just didn't, the energy wasn't feeling right. So I wasn't even going to bring up the fact that I met her before because also I wasn't quite sure. I'm like, is that her? Is that not her? I don't know. So, anyways, she joins the conversation, and I noticed that, they are talking about different pieces of their stories. And every time this woman that I was already speaking to shares a part of her story, the other woman goes and tells her story based on what she just said, and saying how their stories kind of are very aligned, but they make a lot of sense. They're very parallel, pretty much is what her point was. Well, once that started, everything this one woman said, the other woman wanted to draw out how there was a parallel. One woman say something, parallel. Say something, parallel. To the point where I was just kind of a bystander in this conversation. I was no longer included. I was just watching back and forth. And at some point, I did try to share that there was, I had a similar parallel in a sense, just because of where they came from before they got here. And that was ignored, and that was fine. But I just sat there, and something just told me just to listen, listen. So I did. I sat there and I listened. I listened. And as I began to listen, the urge for me to share lessened. But before that moment, there was an intense feeling in me that wanted to just leap and share and show. But I listened, listened. Eventually, I noticed a few things. Number one, I noticed that they, like, this new woman that came in the conversation that started drawing parallels, she took this other woman from like stories just about the power of the universe, the power of God, and she kind of pulled her into, oh, the parallels. I did this, you did this, I did this, you did this. When I was really there to more so have a conversation about just the power, and kind of us exist in that power, in that frequency all together in a triad of that conversation. But again, I noticed that that's not what we were there for. And it dawned on me, look how eager you were to share something that is so profound and such a golden nugget with people who are focused. Their eyes are not here, their eyes are here. That doesn't mean they're less than. Your eyes have been here before too, but your eyes are here. And that message I told you about in the beginning of the video, where I received that discernment of saying that the reason why I'm not growing in certain areas is because of the information that I'm sharing, of with who I'm sharing the information with, the close people that I'm sharing it with. It popped back into my mind, because look at what I was trying to do. Even though I was like still obeying and listening, that there was a big piece of me that just wanted to get out there and share it and say it, and say, I can identify, um but I also realized that even that urge to identify was that came about after hearing this one person making so many parallels. So it was my need to want to fit in. It was my need to want to people please that I had to stop myself from doing, because that is not even why I entered the conversation. I didn't enter the conversation to hear parallels, because I believe that there's a nugget in everybody's story that is for the person that's listening to it. So I don't need you to tell me what I've already experienced and how you've experienced it is that same thing. I want to hear something that moves me. And before this woman had joined the conversation, I was moved. God put it in my mind, casting your pearls before swine. Not saying that these people were swine, but these people, not even, I don't want to say these people, the person who was mainly leading the conversation at this point, they didn't have the wherewithal to understand where I was coming from and where I was wanting to lead said conversation. She wouldn't have gotten it, because she was so bent on parallels, to the point where even the other woman who wanted to have conversations about non-parallels was pulled into the conversation about parallels. And it began to make me feel like someone wants me to feel less than, because I even noticed that throughout the conversation there were little innuendos at this person who was leading the conversation, that they would purposely, try to shut me down or make me feel less than or not speak. And at first, I took that as an attack. I so badly wanted to identify with being a victim, but I had to remember, even I had to remember, even rejection is protection. Even rejection from spaces and times and places and people, that could be the very thing that is saving your freaking sanity, that is saving your freaking life. Because as I felt myself being rejected and I decided to sit on the outside of this conversation and look in, I realized there was nothing there for me. So, because there was nothing there for me, I was able to move, walk away, come back, walk away, come back, disengage, pop back in. And I realized a few things. So I thought back on the conversation, like as I was sitting there listening, I thought back to how it started and how we even got here. And I realized that there was a point in the conversation where I admitted to being in the process. I admitted to still having feelings of, where I have to revisit the same lessons over and over again, or feelings where I have like I'm still climbing certain mountains. I'm still trying to get to certain peaks. I'm still having moments where I have a challenge and I have to still overcome it. And, mind you, these women were also older than me. So, I'm thinking I still have those moments. Those moments do not go away. And I'm wondering if the reason why this person felt the need to try to exclude me from that space was because she felt like she's not where I am, but she's still dealing with challenges. I don't deal with challenges. I don't have to deal. I did that 20 years ago. That's eventually what the energy began to feel like. And it made me realize a recent discovery that I had within myself was that I'm missing a lot of jewels because I'm deciding that I'm above certain things that I could actually learn from. I can learn from it. Now, there are some things that I do know for a fact I'm above, but there are some things that I'm so closely related to that I'll probably have a test on a year from now. God will bring someone in my life that will have an experience that will question, have you learned a lesson? And it's harder to embody the lesson whenever there are literal instances that are being put before you to learn from that you're not actually embodying. You're not actually soaking up the way that it's meant to be soaked up because you have already decided that you are above it. You are too smart for it. You have outwitted it. I want to add another piece here because it's easy to feel like, oh, I already know that. Matter of fact, growing up, my favorite thing to say that my family will tell you is, I know that, I know. I would say that all the time. So it's even making me revisit this in my own consciousness of always feeling like I knew, but I always also had to know in a sense. I wasn't a kid who really was allowed to be a kid. I was a kid that was very adultified, parentified. And so I had to know a lot. And God gave me a lot early in life too to know. So I did feel like I'd already been here, that I already knew these things. But there is something to be said about the things that we think we know about revisiting them so that we can get a new angle of them, a new dimension of them. Just because we know the 50% on the front half doesn't mean that we know the 50% shadow, the other half of it, the other side of the moon. We don't know that side. So it's okay to just sit there and actually allow it to seep in, allow it to soak in. But because this person didn't allow it for whatever reason, I was able to realize that, some information is not for some people. Some people they have not been brought to their knees yet to realize that, oh, I can learn from a 5-year-old. I can learn from a homeless man. I can learn from a barista at Starbucks. I can learn from a billionaire. I can learn from anybody. There is something for me in everyone. There's a lesson that I can learn. And because that person has not been brought to that realization yet, from what I can see, I have to be okay with not casting my pearls before swine. I have to be okay with saying, you know what? Thank you so much for the conversation. You have a good day. I have to be okay with not being ready to jump in to people please, to jump in to show that I know. Because you know what that also is? That's jumping in to show my worthiness. That's jumping in to prove that I know what I'm talking about. I don't need to prove that. My life is a living testimony that I know what I'm talking about. And the fact that I'm willing to step down and see life through the eyes of a child, that brings me so much more awareness and clarity that seeing the world through the eyes of an adult never could have given me this awareness and clarity. That has to be enough. That has to be enough. You have to realize that once you get to a certain level and you keep ascending on the journey, everyone's story is going to have some sense of a parallel in it, because there's certain rites of passage that you have to walk through the door of in order to get the gold of. So when you ascend to a certain level, the people on that level will all have similar stories. So I'm not interested necessarily in similarity, though I fancy a little bit, but I'm not interested in similarities. I'm interested in connecting with the power that we ourselves aligned ourselves with so that we can get to where we are, to get through the obstacles, get through the challenges. What do we do? And how can we embody that power again for the next several levels? That was what I was more so interested in. So I just noticed that the conversation wasn't able to go in that direction, because it instead was going in the direction of um, who fits in, who's identifiable with my story, who can be a part of the clique, who can be a part of the group. And when you're more focused on who fits in, which one of these is not like the others, you miss the power of the moment that we're in. So I had to really just say, thank you, God, for revealing that to me. Thank you for the revelation. Thank you for showing me what I wasn't willing to see in other situations, because this has been a common theme. Casting my pearls before swine, I have done that lots of times, many a times, more times than I care to admit. But God taught me a lesson in that, even in that mere instance. Why? Why are you sharing with people who don't, you know, they might not even, what you have to say may not even land on them until a year later. Matter of fact, there was a course creator, and they made a course, and I attended in year 2022 or 3. And I remember the course was like, it was like a live course. And so everybody was able to speak in the course. So I think it was only like maybe 10 of us, maybe. Well, we talked so much in the course that the host never got to the information. But you know what she said? I think that you all have already transmitted the information. You didn't have to hear the words of the particular course and the exact rubric and the requirements and the write out and point 1, 2, 3, 4, because the conversation that you're having is literally a transmission of what I was going to share with you. That's what she was saying. But in the moment, what I heard was, oh, we talked too much and now you're not going to give us the information. That's messed up. It took me a couple of years before it landed on me that the mere conversation we were having embodied all the teaching she was going to share. So she already seen that they have this covered. They understand. And that's how experiences are. Sometimes experiences, just the mere cat and mouse of it taught you the lesson. You didn't need a whole big shift. Just being an observer showed you everything you needed to see. Just being there with your eyes wide open showed you everything you needed to see. because you would be surprised how many people are walking through life with their eyes closed. They don't see anything. They barely remember what they had for breakfast. They don't know. They are on autopilot. They are in this life just floating on by and praying that it gets better. But in reality, their eyes are closed. They are not seeing anything. They cannot recall certain situations and instances that are outside of trauma and triggers. That's the only thing they can remember. When somebody hurt them, when they felt like the victim. Outside of that, they can't recall anything. So I train myself to not only step out of victim mode often. When I feel like I'm a victim in a situation, I'm like, let's shift this right now. How can we shift this? How can we turn this situation so that I'm not identifying with energy like that, because I'm not a victim? And then number two, how can I make sure that my eyes are so wide open in this experience that I gather all the details of the experience. I gather all the details of the experience, even though I'm not triggered or in trauma. Because in reality, maybe what that additional woman who joined the conversation, maybe what she needed was to feel identified with. Maybe what she needed was to see herself in someone else to remind her of her own power. Maybe that was the door that she needed to walk through in order to get to where I'm speaking of. And maybe if we had more time, we would have got to that point. But first, she needed to see herself outside of herself. She needed a mirror, like many of us do. And, now that I think about it, even in that instance, they were a mirror for me. They showed me where I want to give, even though nobody has asked. I want to fit in, though no one has made it so that I have to fit in. I can just be an outlier. That's okay. Show me where I want to people please. But for what? For what? So these are just small lessons that I learned through keeping my eyes open. And when I say eyes open, I mean presence. Because your eyes can be open without your eyes being open. Your spiritual eye, is that open? Are you aware? Are you listening? Are you paying attention? Are you listening? Are you obeying? Are you obeying? Do you have a code of ethics and morals and values that you abide by? Are you obeying? And I'm learning that everything through obedience flows. And when you're obedient and everything that flows from that, you don't have to question. You don't have to wonder if it's for you or not. You don't have to wonder if it's the right thing, or, is this aligned with my journey? Is this aligned with my path? Where did it come from? You met this person because you were obedient to the vision, and it was put on your heart to go to the library and look up this one particular book, and you were obedient to the vision and you went to the library and got this particular book. And then you met a person at the library that you're wondering, wow, should I connect with this person? They stirred something up in me. Yes. Yes, you should, because you met them on the path of obedience. You can almost just trust off of that alone. You went through that door, that narrow door. There was 1,000 other options you could have chose. You could have chose to not be obedient. You could have chose to do what you wanted to do. You could have chose whatever. You could have decided that I'm not going to do any of this. I'm not going to embark on any of the stuff I said I was going to embark on. But no, you didn't. You chose a door of obedience, and it's a narrow door. It's not something where you just get to be all willy-nilly and do whatever, nah. This door of obedience has a code of ethics and morals and values, and it ain't playing. But when you go through that door, you can just assure yourself that everything through the door of obedience is for you. Everything through the door of obedience has your name on it. The experiences, the people you meet, the places you go, the fun you have, the lessons you learn, They're all for you because you committed to something and you've seen it through. So you have to know what's on the other side of that door. That's your door. That's your space. That's your space. That's your people. So even like while making this video, like I have like 3 points written down, but I don't have anything else. All of this is coming to me as I speak it. So I'm even open to learning. I'm even open to showing that I'm in process and being vulnerable and showing that I'm not complete. I am whole within myself, but I'm not complete. I have some big things I plan on doing. I'm not complete. I am still in the journey of learning. I am still walking side by side with the mission. I'm still saying, I am obedient and I'm taking this walk. I'm still falling. I'm still identifying as being the victim sometimes. I still have to remind myself, take yourself out of that. Shift, shift, shift. And for a long time, I thought that I had been healed of victim consciousness. I thought that victim consciousness did not live in my reality anymore. But you know what happened? There was a time and space where a lot of people fell off and I let them stay gone. And then I cut a few people off. So really the only people I had to manage was me, my daughter, my work, and a couple of friends. So it was less chance for me to have this resistance that I'm experiencing now because now I've opened myself up to people. So that's another thing. You don't want to feel like, you don't want to think that you're healed just because you went into hermit mode. Hermit mode means you are taking the things that you've learned and you're acquiring new information and you're just going into solitude to actually embody it and be with it and flow with it and experience life through it. But eventually you have to come out of that mode and you have to put the things that you say that you've learned to test. And you will see that in some cases, the things that you thought you mastered could use a little bit more work. And we have to be okay with doing the work in those spaces. Okay. Okay. You a little youngin. You young. What are you, 50? Like, what are you, 65? What are you, 28? You young in this life. You're a baby. When you think about the reality, when you think about the universe, when you think about how long our souls have been here, but you're a baby. You're a baby. You have, and it's your first time living this life in this body on this earth. You're a baby. So give yourself some grace and don't feel like you have to be above everything. Be willing to learn from the barista. Be willing to learn. That's some of the best parts in movies sometimes when they learn something from someone they never expected to learn anything from. And they say, that is something to think about. Because everyone is here with something to teach. That's really, I don't know if y'all ever heard that term where they say like everybody should be a coach. And when I first heard it, I thought it was crazy, but everyone should be a coach because everyone came here with a certain story that they had to either overcome or, crawl their way out of or fight their way out of or surrender their way out of or praise their way out of, and they can share that with the world. And there is somebody out there in the world that is lost right now saying, dang, I don't know what to do in this situation. I wish I had someone who could show me, who could teach me, who could guide me. This is why I'm really beginning to feel like everybody not only should be a coach, but everyone should have a platform where they are sharing raw and authentic information, raw truth that is happening right now. Because not only is it going to help somebody, but it's going to help you. It's going to help you see yourself better. It's going to help you be more honest with yourself. It's going to help you really root into the moment and look at yourself, observing yourself, because you are not your thoughts. You are not the thinker. So here's the thought. Here's you thinking about the thought. But who's seeing you think the thought? Something outside of you, the observer. You are observing yourself thinking. That's the only reason you know you're thinking is because you're observing yourself doing the thinking. You can hear the calculations or the words of wisdom that once came to you, or whatever thoughts you have. You can hear them because you are the observer. So you can't even get too identified with the mind in this playing field. You can't get too identified with the mind. Getting too identified with the mind leads to compulsion. It leads to compulsion because that is not you. You are the soul that has existed for a long, 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 long time, that is in this flesh suit, this body, having a human experience. And the mind just so happens to be a part of what tethers you to this reality, to this life, to this body, to this mind. Like, that's what's tethering you. So you have to know when to untether from the mind and go to a space of no thought, to a space of peace, to a space of presence. And there's a few ways you can do that. You can do this through meditation. You can do this through breath work. You could even do this through doing something that you really enjoy that you can almost become mindless at. Like if you love painting and you get to a space when you're painting where you're not even thinking about what color is next. You in the vibe. You in the flow. You're in the flow. You're in the flow. These are the moments where we are present. We are here with the moment. We are experiencing the moment. We are not connected to the mind. We're not thinking about what we're going to do after the painting is done. We just painting, you know? So, anyways, I don't even know how I got up on a tangent. This video has gotten way longer than what I expected, but I hope that there has been something in this that you can see yourself in and that will set you free. You define your worth. You are already worthy. There are so many souls that fought to be in this reality, to learn the lessons that you came here to learn, and you chose to come along right now. Right now. You were specially picked out. You were creatively made. Your whole life has been curated to tell a particular story. So don't let that go to waste, and don't cast it before people who are not ready to hear it. It's still a worthy story. It's still worthy of being told, just not to those people. All right. Thanks so much for watching and have a fabulous day. Bye.